Ka halal Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Mekahakodash Barakatha Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai Bahasham Mekahakodash. Shalom. Double honor to the elders of GMS Great Millstone. Shalom. Shalom to the elect of the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greetings. We call ourselves the hopeful elect. Why? Because we do not know who the elect are in these times. Shalom. Call ourselves the hopeful elect. Scriptures speak about, for the elect, their flesh shall rest in hope, in the book of Psalm, chapter 16, verse 9. Some news. Look at this. Fair use, fair use, fair use. Two Israeli lawmakers proposed a bill that will criminalize sharing the gospel of, you see it there, up to 2 years in prison. The name is really Yahweh Shai. There was no letter J in the ancient world. Letter J didn't come out till around what? Till around the time period of 1524. How have you pronounced this man's name? An Italian Renaissance grammarian is recognized as a part of letter J in 1524. It came from the letter I. This is a I, not a L. It's a I. 1611 KJV. There is no J. 1611 King James Bible. Mark 10 and 27. And it's an I there. Let's just say you don't believe it. Let's go to the book of Joshua. That's Joshua's name right there. KJV standard. It's Joshua's name right there. Now after the death of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, it came to pass that Yahweh spake unto Joshua the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying. It goes on. Now after the death of Moses, the servant of Yahweh, it came to pass that Yahweh spake unto I, not J, the son of Nun, Moses' minister, saying.
Disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Thinks that it's most likely that Putin has already threatened Israel. He's already threatened Israel, saying, hey, if you do anything, like, we will nuke you out of existence. Here's a big development. Turns out, Colonel McGregor, listen to what he has to say about what's happening with President Putin threatening Israel with a nuke. Is that possible? Let's listen. Let's listen to what he says.
There's a complete failure to understand that Gaza is the catalyst for the larger war that's now going to begin against Israel. Every Muslim country is going to come on board against Israel, along with Russia, along with China. I'd be surprised if Mr. Putin doesn't make it very clear to Mr. Netanyahu that if he contemplates using a nuclear weapon, he needs to understand something. If you do this, if you use a nuclear weapon against Iran or anyone in the Middle East, we will use a nuclear weapon against you. I'd be very surprised if he has not already said that. We don't understand what we've walked into because we're not informed. We still think this is 1991. Listen to the rhetoric. I'm ready for peace now. We've made our point. We hope the Iranians understand us and will make peace. Have you lost your mind? The war is now just beginning.
Yes, it's not the beginning of the end. It's merely the end of the beginning.
That Iran is not messing around. They tried to negotiate with Donald Trump twice. He bombed them twice in the middle of negotiations.
With fake negotiations.
So it was all. So they know that they cannot ever trust Donald Trump, and that they either get completely annihilated, Iran, in which case they will completely annihilate Israel and the Gulf states. Which Gulf states? The ones who produce all the oil. So guess what that will do? That will plunge the earth, the world, into an economic depression. it will millions, if not maybe a billion people will probably die because they can't get heating oil. They can't get energy to cool themselves. More people die from do more people die from cold or heat? I'm pretty sure it's from cold. So they won't
then heat.
yeah. So what's this is what's going to so what I'm the point I'm getting at is that Iran has the power to make the United States retreat from this war. You know, Donald Trump's like, I want an unconditional surrender from Iran, nothing unconditional, which the last time we got an unconditional surrender from anybody, it took a nuclear bomb to do it with Japan. And so Jack Cohen has a hilarious joke. He says that the unconditional surrender from Iran, he can't even get that from Minnesota. So it's going to happen the other way. It took you a while to get that joke, huh, Kurt?
It crept on.
So it took it. So what's going to happen, because Iran has the ability to knock out all the Gulf states and all their oil producing ability, not only that, but all their desalination plants. So if they do that, that means that everybody in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, they all have to leave those countries because there won't be any water and there won't be any power. And you start to die in the 72 hours. So that's what's going to happen. So they have Iran has the power to do that. Donald Trump, I don't think, was told that. I think Donald Trump has been lied to from the start of this war to now. They told him it was going to be easy. It would be quick, just like Venezuela. And he was lied to. And now I think he's starting to realize that he's screwed, because when he comes out and says, oh, yeah, the war is almost over. Oh, yeah, we're close to a negotiation. When he says all that stuff, what he's doing is he's trying to manipulate the price of oil internationally. And it works for a little while until Iran then says, no, we're not negotiating. And then the price goes back. So he realizes they're in a pickle now. And I wonder if he realizes that he's been thoroughly hoodwinked by Jared Kushner, Benjamin Netanyahu, and Steve Witkoff and his dry drunk defense secretary, Pete Hegseth. I'm pretty sure. It's going to.
I'm begging you to Google yourself right now.
Why?
There is this
And I wonder if he realizes that he's been thoroughly hoodwinked by Jared Kushner, Benjamin Netanyahu, and Steve Witkoff and his dry drunk defense secretary, Pete Hegseth. I'm pretty sure. It's going to.
I'm begging you to Google yourself right now.
Why?
There is this AI called Deep Search. It finds everything about
and then they have the same. That's why they have the Samson option. But I don't know. Has anybody, Kurt, to your knowledge, has anybody ever tried to figure out how many nukes that Israel actually has, and if they could reach, how far they could reach? Does anybody know this?
The only thing I've ever heard was that one spy, Jonathan Pollard, talking about how we have them set to go off if you don't do what we want.
Yeah.
You know, that idiot bragging about it. That's the only thing that I've heard about the amount of it. And I never read the Seymour Hersh book.
Call law Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai Bahashem Rekaha Kudash.
Alright, so you can watch the rest of the video here. Saints of Jersey 2. They go to handle thing. Get it. And you guys Saints of Jersey 1. They go to handle thing to get it. Probably be a quick lesson. Second Ezra chapter 15, verse 28. Behold, an horrible vision, and the appearance thereof from the east. Keep your eye on the Middle East. And then the next precept, it goes into World War III, going to a conventional war. Starting out domestically. It's going to what? Escalate to a nuclear war. Least of the flock. We're seeing what? Least of the flock draw to these other nations. So what? World War III going nuclear. All the nations that possess nuclear capabilities. Putin threatens to nuke Israel. That's another nation with nuclear capabilities. But Russia is a major part in Bible prophecy in the book of Ezekiel chapter 38, Jeremiah chapter 50 verse 45. Therefore hear the counsel, what Yahweh by Shem Shai has planned, what the Most High Yahweh has planned. Most High Yahweh is above everybody, even Yahweh Shai, and he has everything planned out. Even Yahweh Shai got to listen to Yahweh the Father, that he have taken against Babylon. America. Babylon means confusion. Where has confusion been pushed out throughout the four corners of the earth, the entire world? And the world is not flat. The Christians do not preach that. And his purpose is that he have purpose against the land of Chaldeans. Back to Babylon, confusion is pushed out from where? LGBTQA is pure confusion. Pushed out many from where? America, Babylon the Great. And his purpose is that he has purpose against the land of the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans was who? The Chaldeans was the wise men of ancient Babylon. The modern day Chaldeans is the one that what? Rule Babylon the Great, the daughter of Babylon, America. And notice how in the scriptures America is called what? The daughter of Babylon. You know? Meaning showing you what? It's not ancient Babylon. There is a daughter of Babylon. Babylon is going to come back as the daughter of Babylon. It's going to be America. Land of the Chaldeans. Chaldeans was the wise men of ancient Babylon. The wise men of modern day Babylon is who? The elites of Esau. The Rothschilds, the elite banking families, the Illuminati of the heads of the Illuminati, the 1300 families, the heads of the Luciferians, the ones that carry what? The light of the wicked, as the Bible speaks about. They carry the light of the wicked. And their main stronghold, for the planet Earth is where? In America, Babylon the Great. And you see it now, what? The least of the flock, which is who? Israel. They got signs about America should just be called the United States of Israel, with the way Israel is running Babylon up and down. But if you notice, Israel is running who up and down? Babylon. Why? Because Babylon is the stronghold of Esau, Edom. America is the stronghold. The least of the flock, Israel, needs Babylon's help. Sure, the least of the flock, that's the small hat, state of Israel, 1948, Balfour Declaration treated the law of Rothschild, and they brought who? The WWIII people back to the land and plains and the rest of it, when the Most High promised that he would bring his people back. Not no jets and planes and the rest of it, not man-made inventions. So the least of the flock shall draw them out. Draw out who? These other nations into Armageddon, into the valley of Jehoshaphat, the Levant area, to start World War III as a conventional war. And Ezekiel 38 goes all into that. The war in the Middle East between the Red Sea and Euphrates, the Levant area, south of the Levant, World War III, starting as a conventional war, soon to escalate to nuclear war. And part of it, who is it going to draw? These nuclear-capable nations. Russia shall be a guard unto these other nations that will have a confederate together against Babylon the Great. But Russia is going to be protecting what? These other nations. Because, Babylon, America, it could be a force to be reckoned with. So, Yahweh Shem Shai has drawn out who? The Russians. Gog and Magog. Magog meaning, from Gog. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. So ultimately, the state of Israel is going to be the downfall of Esau's empire, the end of his world, as is written in 2 Ezra 6 and 9. End of Esau's age. The CEB even says that Esau is the end of this age, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Yeah. Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 1. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and prophesy against him. Set thy face against Gog. Where is that? Russia, the land of Magog. Magog means what? From Gog, the chief prince. If you go into this word, chief. What is it? It's Rosh. Rosh in the Blue Letter Bible. And if you scroll on down, let's just get it for edification's sake. Blue Letter Bible. Anybody that may be new. Rosh. Rosh. Genesis chapter 46, verse 21. You want Rosh. Rosh. And Benjamin, Gera, Rosh.
Strong's H 7220. Rosh. Rosh.
Head. Here it is. Genesis Hebrew Chaldee Lexicon. Ezekiel chapter 30, verse 2, verse 3, and verse 39 and 1. That's where it's saying Rosh is mentioned that. We just came out of Ezekiel 38. And it's in verse 2 and 3, and it's in Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 1. So this is what that's referring to. PRN. Of a northern nation mentioned with Tubal and Meshach. Meshach is Moscow. Tubal is Tbilisi, the capital in Georgia over there. Not the American Georgia. Undoubtedly the Russians, who are mentioned by Byzantine writers of the 10th century under the name, how you pronounce this, dwelling to the north of Taurus, an Arab called, described by, whatever this man's name is, an Arabic writer of the same age as dwelling on the river Ra, Volga. See, and they gives the book and everything. You know where to find that, the rest of it. So now we know it's Russia. Meshach, Moscow. Let's just get it. Moscow. Capital of Russia. Tbilisi. Capital of Georgia. Let's get it up. Yeah. Tbilisi. Capital of Georgia. Just to prove it's not United States, Georgia. Oh. I can't get it. Let's see. I just want to prove it's not America, Georgia. Anybody that might not know. There you go. Georgia. You see Ukraine up there? This is not America. And prophesy against him and say, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Russia is going to be turned back to that old USSR mindset. NATO was formed. Why? Because of fear of Russia. But, you know, Russia had to get turned back to that old Soviet USSR mindset. You got to make sure you're hard, Russia, you're not soft. So what happened? That war in Ukraine. As part of what? The turning of them back. Get their men ready, you know. Because Russia is going to send a certain amount of troops down to the Middle East to fight where? In the war of Armageddon, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, Yahweh Shaphat, which means in the Hebrew, Yahweh's judgment. You know, in the Levant area, World War III is going to start as a conventional war. It's going to take place where? In the Middle East, a conventional war escalated to nuclear. But before it can go to nuclear, it must start as what? A conventional war. And Russia is going to have a certain amount of troops sent down there. And those troops can be already what? Battle hardened. New tactics and the rest of it. Unless they use the same tactics, but, you know, perfect your tactics. Perfecting how you do your tactics. Everything was tested. Whatever they tested against who? Ukraine. So that's part of turning them back. And bring thee forth all thy horses and armor. That's modern day weapons, you know, tanks, guns, the rest of it. Even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Modern day sword is the gun, but a sword means what? Weapons. Verse 5, Persia, Iran. Before Iran was called Iran, it was called Persia. That's historical fact. Ethiopia and Libya with them, all of them with shields and helmet. Let's get that. Iran was called Persia. Iran was known internationally as Persia for centuries until 1935, when Reza Shah Pahlavi requested foreign nations officially use the indigenous name Iran. While Persia was an exonym derived from the Greek Iran, has been internally for thousands has been used internally for thousands of years. It means land of the Aryans, aimed at connecting with the nation's ancient heritage. Iran, Persia, Ethiopian, Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands. The house of Togarmah of the North Quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. Gomer, Togarmah. Now go into the Turkey-Armenian region, because Gomer is Turkey and all his bands. And the house of Togarmah of the North Quarters, ex-Soviet Union states. And now go into the Armenian region. You know, you got Gomer is Turkey and all his bands and many people with thee. Here you go. See on screen. Togarmah, Sheba, Dudan, Tarshish. Sheba, Dudan, you see them where they're at on the map. See Sheba. Be thou prepared. Who? Well, who is this referring to? Prophesy against him. Against who? Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Gog, the land of Magog. This is referring to Russia. It's prophesying against who? Russia. Most High Yahweh isn't for Russia. He's against it. But he's using them like he used what? Chess pieces. You have a pair of toys, and you say, I want to use this toy right here to do this, that, and the other, as it is written, who have resisted his will. Be thou prepared, Russia, the president of Russia, whoever you are at the time, more than likely, it'll be Putin. And prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. These nations, they're going to come with Russia. But Russia's going to be what? A bodyguard. You mess with them, America. Without Russia, there is no world. Let's get that. Without Russia, there is no world, Putin says. Vladimir Putin has expressed his sentiment that a world without Russia is not worth having, a phrase primarily used in the context of nuclear deterrence to warn Western powers against threatening the existence of the Russian state. Russia is being a bodyguard unto these other nations. And all nations that possess ICBMs, you got the Russians and the Chinese together now. Don't sleep on the North Koreans. The Japanese are now getting upset with America. You know, Trump made that remark about Pearl Harbor. Fair use, fair use, fair use, fair use, fair use, fair use. You see where it's coming from. I didn't make the video.
Japan and US are very good friends, but one question, why didn't you tell US allies in Europe and Asia, like Japan, about the war before attacking Iran? So we are very confused about we Japanese citizens.
Well, one thing, you don't want to signal too much. You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay, right? You know, he's asking me. Now you believe in surprise, I think much more so than us, and we had to surprise him, and we did. And because of that surprise, we knocked out the first 2 days. We probably knocked out 50% of what we, and much more than we anticipated doing. So if I go and tell everybody about it, there's no longer a surprise, right? And we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay, right? You know.
So, men and ladies and gentlemen, 47, World War III has started as a conventional war with him in office. Oh man, it's beautiful. So Trump, Nero 47, relieves the man ushering in World War III called nuclear. It's just I think that's a conventional war now. Oh man, it's beautiful. Little pin of himself. He looks upset on it too. I just noticed this thing has teeth right here, look like. Yep. However, Shimei Shai believes in this man. But he's the cruel Lord and fierce king written about in Isaiah that will rule over them, that will rule over the Egyptians, and the modern day Egyptians is the Babylonians. This is him, Nero 47. Yahweh Shimei Shai has anointed this man. Let's get that. Anointed king of... Let's see if I can find it. Isaiah 47:1. KJV, Isaiah chapter 45, verse 1. Thus saith Yahweh to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden to subdue the nations before him, and I will loose the loins of kings to open before him the two lead gates, and the gates shall not be shut. So Yahweh Shimei Shai has anointed this man, Nero 47. Not to what? Not to receive salvation. Cyrus, king of Persia, is still what? He's not an Israelite. He's a Gentile. He will still be a slave in the kingdom of heaven. But he was anointed. He was appointed to what? Do a purpose. To his anointed.
Strong's H, 4899. Mashiach. Mashiach.
Mashiach. Consecrated for a certain task. So truly, this man, Nero 47, is appointed by the Most High God, Yahweh, by Shem Yahushai. Psalm 75, verse 7, but God, the power, is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another, and the Most High has set up Trump. Trump truly is appointed by the Most High. There's no denying that. Basis of man. So if somebody ever says, well, God set this man up, that's true. Daniel chapter 4, verse 17, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men. Presidents, prime ministers, leaders, they are all appointed by the Most High, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of man. Who was the basis of man? Esau, Edom, the true caveman. He was in the Caucasus Mountains during the Renaissance. He was in the Caucasus Mountains during the time period of around the Byzantine Empire. He started rising out and coming out of that Caucasus Mountains during the Renaissance time period. And Renaissance means rebirth. And the Japanese Nihongo people have noted that. What Nero 47 said.
先生你好，卫视记者艾丽娜提问：日本网友对高市早苗访美视频的评价以负面为主，集中批评其夸张神态、谄媚姿态有损国家的尊严，甚至直言视频像 AI 生产般糟糕。请问中方对此有何评论？谢谢。
我们注意到一些日本媒体、专家和民众对高市此次访美的观点，包括被当面提及日本偷袭珍珠港，在参观总统星光大道时的反应等等。对于日本网民对此访的各种非议，我不予评论。美日发展双边关系应有利于地区和平稳定，不应针对第三国或损害他国利益。
The other nations, they watching Nero 47. As of March 2026, President Nero 47 has maintained a highly critical, skeptical stance toward NATO, describing it as a one-way street where the U.S. is taken advantage of. He has threatened to withdraw or reduce support if allies do not meet defense spending targets, and has slammed them as cowards for not supporting U.S. interests. These nations, they ain't just supporting Trump or the NATO nations. These countries here for the war with Persia. These nations were beginning to what? Hate the whore. The 10 horns shall hate the whore in Revelation chapter 17, verse 16. The whore is America. Let's get it. Let's get it on screen. These NATO nations are beginning to dislike America, Babylon the Great. These NATO and EU nations, they're beginning to. Revelation chapter 17, verse 16. We're seeing this in living color. The 10 horns, EU, European Union, which thou sawest upon the beast, ye shall hate the whore. The whore is America, Babylon the Great. And also part of the whore, the leader of the whore. 47. And shall make her desolate and naked. How? Nuclear war, ICBMs. And shall eat her flesh, ICBMs, and burn her with fire, with ICBMs. Eat her, ICBMs. Burn her with fire, ICBMs. The beast is who? NATO. 10 horns is who? The EU. You have more than 10 EU nations now. But the NATO, the EU is the 10 horns. Let's get the chart up for edification's sake. Go on down. Where is it? Okay. Just making sure the audio is still there. You see on screen there. I started out with the 10. And now they have more nations. 10 horns, Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Greece, Spain and Portugal, both joined at the same time. England and Ireland, both joined at the same time. West Germany. You saw those nations, they joined at the same time. They go together. The 10 horns represent the common marker, or the European Economic Community, EEC, established in 1958. Today, the EEC is known as the EU, the European Union. 7 heads. Germania Major, the Romans, the French, the Spanish, Germania Minor, the British, and the Greeks. The whore is America. NATO is an acronym for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It was established August 4th, 1949, consisting of 19 nations. Greece, Italy, Spain, France, West Germany, United Kingdom, Portugal, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, Canada, Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Turkey, United States, Poland, Hungary, Czech Republic. These nations make up NATO, which is the what? The beast. And the beast is what? An overwhelming force. You say, well, that guy's a beast over there. That's supposed to mean what? He's dangerous. You get into a fight with a beast, yeah, you gonna want your Yahweh Shema Shah on your side on that day. Beasts are dangerous. Modern 7 heads, ancient 7 heads. Modern 10 EU, ancient EU. There they go, right there. Corresponding regions. And on that note, Shalom, Kal, Halal, Yahweh, Hashem, Yoshai, Hashem, Rakah, Kodash, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yehoshua. Shalom. Double honor to Elder GMS Great Muslim. Shalom.